Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Is the audio clear?
Mahadev Swamiji. It is clear, Swamiji.
Om Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Hadevamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamshashibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhya Sarvopaplava Rahitaha Prajnana Ghanaha Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Vedantartha Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Sannyasine Nanavadi Nagendra Sanghapavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohadvanta Divakaraya Bhagavatpada Vidham Bibhrate Tasmai Bhashakrite Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane. Yam hina vyathayante te. The earlier shloka which said Matra Sparshast Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukhadukkhadaha Agama Payino Nityaha Tan Stitikshasva Bharata. Titikshasva Bharata means to endure. O Bharata, O Arjuna, endure them. What must be endured? That the contact with the world which generates the experiences of sukha and dukkha, all this must be endured. Now, when suggesting that it must, or when advising that it must be endured, we generally understand endurance means that one keeps suffering. This is not what is meant over here. Endure means upekshasva, that rise above it. Rise above it. And how does one rise above it? Where is it? What happens? Na mama ete kinchit karaha iti vivekena upekshasva. That though these are experienced, yet they do not affect me even anywhere, just as much as the fire of the dream does not even warm up your pillow. It does not affect me at all. Vivekena upekshasva. And the call for the viveka over here is in understanding that all these vikaras belong to the antakarana. It belongs to the mind. Whereas I, the self that I am, is the witness, the illuminator of mind and all its modifications. The whatever is now seen, and seen in the sense now understood as anatma, is fret with constant change, constant modifications. So also, even to perceive something as sukham and something as dukkham, the same object, the same person can be seen as pleasant and unpleasant, pleasing and annoying. Then is this person pleasing or is this person annoying? This is not at all the thing. We are not asking you to decide whether it is pleasing or not pleasing. It is bound to please at some times and it is bound to annoy you at other times. It will displease you at other times. And therefore, tan upekshasva, they belong to the mind. It is all anatma and therefore does not affect me. It is not in me, nor does it bring any change in the self that I am, the consciousness that I am. Iti vivekena upekshasva. Now over here, the whole process to ignore, to neglect, or even to say that rising above it is the process, it is a consequence of viveka. It is the consequence of viveka. Just about a few decades ago, right here in Rishikesh, I must have told you this incident sometimes in some other context. You know, we have this another ashram here in Rishikesh, which is a little further from where I live. There used to be this great Mahatma. And then it was detected that there was some gangrene which had set in his foot. So now that foot that had to be amputated. And this Mahatma allowed the doctors one day to say that it can be amputated. The only condition that he had put was that it should be amputated without putting me into anesthesia. In full consciousness that it will be amputated. The doctor said it will be difficult because we will be using the saws and chopping off your foot like we chop or cut a piece of wood. And it is very, very painful, Swamiji. But this Swami said, no, it should be done just like that. Otherwise, let this body perish. And if it has to be abandoned that way, let it be abandoned. So the doctors and the devotees who loved this Mahatma very much then took a decision that we will carry on with amputation without giving anesthesia. As the surgical procedure began, he was lying down and only chanting the mantras of the Upanishad. Om Ishava Simidam Sarvam, one by one, one by one. And after the surgery was over, there was no resistance, there was no hue and cry, even as those saw blades were working on cutting it, amputating that limb, nothing. And when finally it was all cut, stitched, bandaged, then those doctors said, Maharaj, it is all done. He opened his eyes and said, if it is done, now it's finished. This is upekshasva. I'm giving you an extreme example, but we must also know that upekshasva over here, it simply means it is a consequence of that viveka. It is the consequence of the viveka. Dukkhataadatmyena adhyasena atmanam dukkhinam majnasi. And even if there is this cognition or sensation of dukkham, do not identification with it would make you say that I am dukkhi, but this is not the fact about I. Let this viveka stay shining even when going through that experience. And you will discover that all these experiences of sukha and dukkha soon will lose its grip even on the psychology. Even on the psychology. And therefore, now furthermore, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, O Arjuna, in verse number 15, Yam hi na vyathayan te, Yam hi na vyathayan te, Purusham Purusharshabha, Purusham Purusharshabha, Samadukha Sukham Dhiram, Samadukha Sukham Dhiram, Somritattvaya Kalpate, Somritattvaya Kalpate. Hey Arjuna, he who is thus not tortured, to whom these sukha and dukkha do not affect, which means the one who is not affected by these polarities of pleasure and pain, etc., who is not affected, which means the one who remains the same, remains equanimous, whose fulcrum of balance is not lost, who remains same during the pleasure and pain, who is discriminative, dhiraha, somritatvaya kalpate. This wise man now becomes capable of reaching the immortality, gaining the liberation. Amritatvaya kalpate. Shitoshnadin sahataha kim syat. Now in the earlier verse it was told, endure this sukha and dukkha. Question comes, what would be the consequence even if one endures or overcomes this identification with pleasure and pain, overcomes this identification with these polarities, what is the consequence? Sahataha kim syat? Heat and cold, joys and sorrows, success and failure. What would be the what would happen even if one rises above, endures these polarities? What will happen? Kim syat? To this, the answer that Sri Krishna gives is Yam hina vyatayante te. He who is thus not tortured, he who is not tortured, such a person who is not tortured by these means by these polarities. O Purusharshava, O best amongst men. This is how Shri Krishna addresses Arjuna over here as, O best amongst men. Best means the prominent amongst men. Purusham, Purusharshava, Samadukha Sukham Dhiram. This person who is dhira, discriminative, with endurance, with fortitude, Samadukha Sukham, for whom the Sukha and Dukkha have now and have an status above of being equal. Generally, for us, Dukkham is something that is heyam, and Sukham is something that heyam means is something that is worthy of giving up, and Sukham is something that is worthy of acquiring. Upadeyam. But this Dhira Purusha is someone now who sees this Sukha and Dukkha, success and failure, all of them have an equal meaning, because all of them belong to what? The category of Anatma. And therefore, he who has recognized this fact about Atma and Anatma, which means he who has this discrimination and whose discrimination is not dimmed due to the experiences of the world. Whose discrimination is not dimmed, its intensity is not lowered because of this experiences with this world. Then what happens? Saha amritatvaya kalpate. Then he becomes capable of gaining amritatvam. Amritatvam means that the liberation. Amritam means the word, literal meaning of word amritam is immortality. Amritatvam means immortality, which means that which is not corrupted by time, death, fear, anything. And he becomes capable of that. Who becomes capable of gaining liberation? The one who has discrimination, one who has knowledge. And what is the quality of that knowledge? That this knowledge does not lose its intensity even when facing the world. Okay? When facing the situations outside in the world. Because these situations are situations which are bound to create sukha and dukkha. Sometimes the same person, same object, same things also can create sukham and dukkham. Okay? And therefore, this is sukha and dukkha is not a quality that belongs to the objects outside, but this is a response of the mind. And therefore, where is the sukha and dukkha? Definitely not. It doesn't belong to the objects, but its location is antakaranam. Where is it? The same mind sometimes will see the same object as sukharupa. Sometimes it will see it as dukkharupa, and therefore there is nothing trustworthy about it. Therefore, know this for a fact, that this mind is the location of sukha and dukkha. Now through this shloka, what was conveyed according to Sri Madhusudana Saraswati is that this particular shloka number 15, the verse was meant to deliver this discrimination between antakaranam and atma, because the Nayayikas, Vaisheshikas, etc., according to them, the Purushas, that the Atma is many. Atma is many. And the reason that they have given for its multiplicity is that every Atma, every person has its own Sukha and Dukkha. Therefore, the presence of Sukha and Dukkha is now able to justify that this Atma is many. There is one Atma per body. Every body has their own separate Atma. And what is the teaching over here is not only that this Atma is Nitya, not only this Atma is Vibhu, but this Atma is one. And that is what I am. So this was the oneness, that this Atma is one, was refused to be accepted, because the reason that they had supplied was because the Sukha and Dukkha is different per Atma. Then we have said the Sukha and Dukkha does not belong to the Atma, it belongs to the mind, it belongs to the Antakaranam, it belongs to the psychology. And therefore these minds are bound to differ everywhere. But difference in the mind does not mean that the Atma is also different, or is multiple, is many. And therefore, by refuting this, we have come again to the conclusion that Atma is one. So what was the shloka meant for? It was meant for us to understand Matra, Sparshas, Kaunteya, etc. is meant to show the discrimination. And therefore, he who has this discrimination, Samadukha Sukham Dhiram, this dhira, this intelligent, this wise, discriminative person now becomes capable of gaining the liberation. Okay? Gaining this liberation. Now, few things about this particular shloka that we have to see in details. Yam hina vyathayanti ete which what all these do not affect the person. He who is not affected by these. Okay, this is the literal translation of this first quarter of the shloka. Yam hina vyathayanti ete yam na vyathayanti. Which ete? These means what? These means the sukha dukkha's. Do not torture him. He who is not tortured by these sukha and dukkha. So, purusham, purusharashabha, such a person. Now that word person over here means the one purusha. It is a technical word for Atma. It is what? A technical word. Even the Sankhyas and the yogis also have chosen to use the word Purusha for Atma. When they use the word Purusha, they mean Atma. The word Purusha is not male gender or anything, masculine gender or male. Purusha over here means Atma. Okay, Purusham. And who are you, Arjuna? You are Purusha Rishabha, which means you are prominent, important amongst people. So your presence, your opinion, your actions are important to all the people, and therefore you are prominent amongst them. Purusha Rishabha. So you are prominent amongst Rishabha means like a bull in the herd of cattle, in the herd of the cows. The the bull is a tall male, a huge hefty male with a big hump on the back and big horns. And in that herd of all the cows, it is not possible that you cannot notice the bull. The bull will never go unnoticed over there. So he is very important, is prominent like that amongst all the people in the society. Arjuna, you are prominent. Hey Purusha Rishabha, important. This is this is what you are. Samadukha Sukham Dhiram. He who has the one who that Purusha. Yam. Now it is talking about Yam. Yam Purusham Dhiram Samadukha Sukham Ete na Vyathayanti Saha. Now he who is equanimous in situations of pleasure and pain, he who is discriminative, he becomes capable of attaining moksha. Amritatvaya kalpate. So now the question which was asked, what would happen even if one endures sukha and dukkha? Now you have understood the meaning of word endurance. Okay, endurance means rising above. Upekshasva, that is the meaning. Kim syat, what would happen to a person who now does not get affected by this sukha and dukkha? He is being told that he who is not tortured by them, affected by these sukha and dukkha, na vyathayanti. Na vyathayanti means na chalayanti. He is not shaken. Na chalayanti. He is not shaken. Hey, what is he not shaken from? So there is a foundation on which he is standing, and that foundation is Nityatma Darshanat. His understanding about Atma as being Nitya. Now we all experience, there is no dearth of experience. The experience that I am is there in everything that is being experienced by you, and therefore you don't have to say that I am looking forward for experiencing Atma. It is present, it is prevalent in every experience that you have, whether that experience is of sukha or dukkha, it is irrelevant. I am. This experience is prevalent everywhere. It pervades every experience. And therefore, though we have the experience that I am, but how is this I seen by you and me? We see this I as something which is bracketed in frame of time. I was born and I will die. And therefore, bracketed in frame of time, bracketed in space, I am here and I am not there. Thus limited by space, limited by attributes, limited because of sukha and dukkha. And thus limited existence, which is misery, is now equivalent, synonymous to our presence. This is how we see Atma as how, what is our darshanam of Atma? Anitya darshanam. That Atma is Anitya. But now this wise man is able to see very clearly, and his clarity about Atma is that this Atma is Nityatma. How is it? Nityatma. That Atma is Nityam. Huh? Atma Darshanat. Now he knows that this Atma is not bound by the conditions, not limited by the conditions of time, space, objects, attributes. Nothing is able to put a limitation on this I, and therefore this I is timeless, boundless, limitless one. Has Nityatma Darshanat, because he has recognized, known this fact about the self, the experiences of Sukha and Dukkha do not create any dent on him. Such is that person. Na chalayanti nityatma darshanat. Na chalayanti, because of it, and also it does not shake him away. It does not take him away from this knowledge. Now we have to understand who is the person who is not taken away from the knowledge? The one who endures Sukha and Dukkha. Now put it in other way around. The other way around is, because now he knows that Atma is Nitya, he now endures Sukha and Dukkha. Okay. Out of these two meanings which can arise over here, which can be concluded over here, which one is more appealing to Sri Krishna? Is that Sri Krishna saying, he who endures becomes capable of Amritatvam. Okay, the one who endures. So that is important. And what is Amritatvam? Amrita Bhavam. Kalpate samartho bhavati. Kalpate means becomes capable. Samartho bhavati. Now, more about this particular shloka number 15. Sa nityatma darshana nishthaha dvandva sahishnuhu amrita bhavaya mokshaya kalpate. So what is your finally that you are saying about this particular shloka? What is delivered by this verse? Sa nityatma darshana nishthaha. He who is now well-founded, nishthaha, well-founded, well-established in Nitya Atma Darshana. Atma Darshana everybody has. But though we have Atma Darshana which is always there, but one does not have the Atma Darshana that this Atma is Nitya. And therefore, this is what is said. He who has this knowledge that this Atma is Nitya, that knowledge is not maligned, or it is not what do they call what do they call concentrated, and what is the opposite of word concentrated? Diluted. Yes, it is neither diluted, shaken, forgotten. Okay, not that Atma Darshana Nishtha and Dvandva Sahishnuhu. He therefore is what? Endures the dvandvas, the opposites, amrita bhavaya mokshaya kalpate, becomes capable of attaining moksha. Okay. Now this is we have seen the meaning of verse number 15. But this verse 15, Shri Krishna's words have something even deeper to deliver. What is it? Since the mind is the location of pleasure and pain. Okay. What is now? What was the reason that was given to rise above, for the wise man to rise above, to not to be affected by these pleasure and pain, or success and failure, heat and cold, these dvandvas, is because even this, they all belong to anatma. As much as all these things belong to anatma, so also the pleasure and pain, sukha and dukkha, also belongs to the mind, which is anatma. It does not belong to the atma. And therefore, what is the location of sukha and dukkha? Anatma is the location. Since the mind is the location of pleasure and pain, which differs from person to person. Hence, now the Purva Paksha is, summarizing what the Siddhanti has said, what the teacher has said, and based on that, now he is going to present another doubt, which then becomes our stepping stone to bring more light. Okay. How he summarizes, you see, since the mind is the location of what? Location of pleasure and pain. And we all know that the mind differs from person to person. Don't we say that? Munde matir bhinna. That's munde matir bhinna. The mind is different everywhere. No two people are going to have the same mind. Therefore, even their opinions are also going to be different. Just because we have different opinions does not mean that the person with a different opinion does not have even a right to live. Somebody is an atheist, somebody is a theist, somebody is going to believe in one kind of political ideology, somebody in another, and the person who is believing in another will abandon his earlier ideology and take to another one. What's the big deal about it? After all, these are opinions, and opinions are bound to change. Opinions are bound to change. Why? Because this is what is the nature of an atma, that it constantly changes. Change, transformation, vikar belongs to anatma. So this and the psychology, the mind is different from person to person, and therefore sukha and dukkha is not located in atma, because of which we had said atma is different. Why had the Purva Paksha? Purva Paksha means the opponent concluded that atma is many. There are atmas, many atmas are there. Because every atma has its own set of sukha and dukkha. This is what was said. Then he further goes. Who now is taking up to this point? He has done the anuvada, he has concluded whatever the teacher has, the Siddhanti has said. Based on that, now he is going to raise his objection, okay? And he says, then even the doership and experiencerhood or experiencership, the doership and the experiencership is also located in the mind. Is not it? The doership and experiencership is also located in the mind, because when the mind is not available, like in Sushupti, the doership and experiencership is not there. Now comes the question. By that virtue, by that virtue, he is going to say, the opponent, is going to say, mind is the conscious principle and not the Atma. Because all this you had done, you had said, is because you wanted to show that the consciousness is a principle which is different from mind, etc. Okay, from the Anatma. Atma is consciousness. Anatma is something which is inert, illumined by the consciousness, object of this consciousness. But now, though you have done so much of it, but you know what? By saying so much, you still have caused your own harm. Who is saying? The opponent. Because by saying so, what have you proved? Though you did not want to prove, but it has come, it has arrived. And that is what? That mind is being seen as the conscious principle. If this is the case, then there is no other conscious principle other than the mind, which can be said as to be the illuminator of doership, etc. Then in that case, even if we use two words, Atma and mind, both of them, the words mean the same object, will mean the same object. And anything contrary to this, if is accepted by you, that Atma is still different, then there will be a problem. And the problem is, where is the bondage? Doership, experiencership, bondage is there in the mind. And where is the liberation? In Atma. Oh, who is liberated? The Atma. Who had the problem? The mind. Now the solution becomes important where the problem is. And if you cannot provide the solution where the problem is, how does it become a solution? Now, the problem is that there is no money. Well, no money is not a problem because some rich man has got a lot of money in his account. Sir, does that become a solution? So because these are two different adhikaranas, the locations are very different. Therefore, it does not become anything meaningful. The bondage is there in the mind and your liberation is there in the Atma. Vyadhikarana will take place. Vaiyadhikaranyapattihi. Bandhamokshayoho. That the bondage is in one location, your solution to it, liberation is in another location, and this will be a problem. To eradicate this doubt, according to Madhusudan Saraswati, now there is this doubt, and there's this doubt in the sense this objection is there. Have you understood what the objection is? Vaiyadhikaranyapatti. It is an objection of having two different separate locations. Appreciate the problem, then you will understand what is the solution. Vaiyadhikaranyapatti. To eradicate this objection is the purpose of verse number 15. Okay, this is how Madhusudan Saraswati explains. The Yamhina vyathayantyete purusham purusharshapa samadukha sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. This particular verse, the shloka, is brought by Sri Krishna as a teacher, reading that this can be this is the objection which has reason in the mind. Okay, so the opponent is not just an opponent, it is an doubt which can arise in anybody's mind. So therefore, now answering this doubt or this objection is verse number 15. Okay, which objection? Vaiyadhikaranyapattihi. Vaiyadhikaranyapattihi. The problem of different locations. How we look at this verse? Yum. This is not English yum. The food is yum. Okay. Yum means it is a pronoun. He who. So now he who means it can be anybody. Okay. It can be a man, it can be a woman, it can be rich, it can be poor. It can be somebody who is a human being or somebody who is a celestial being, irrespective of this. He who, whosoever means swaprakashatvena swataha eva prasiddham. The one who is evident because of his own self-illuminosity. He who is self-evident, swaprakash, swayam siddha, swayam prakash. I am is known to all. Okay, this does not require that you have to have some agency to prove your existence. So swaprakashatvena swataha eva prasiddham. Yam purusham means purushaha purnatvena purishayanatva. Why is this atma called as purusha? Why? Why? What are you repeating why to me? Why is this atma? Why is this now person is called as purusha? Atma is called as purusha, who is evident, is because of two reasons. Purnatva, the one whom you are calling here as I, who is always evident, is because this is Purnatva. Because this one is Purnam, is complete, infinite, boundless, limitless, and therefore Purnatvena Purushaha or Purnatvat Purushaha. Okay, Purnatvat Purushaha, and then Purishayanatva, because he is found lying in this fortified city. This body is called as the fortified city. In a city, you can see thousands of people are doing their jobs and surviving. Okay, and each one is busy doing his own thing. The carpenter is making chairs, the farmer is tilling the soil, then the banker is working in the bank, the bureaucrat is working in some secretariat, and the taxi driver is driving someone to a destination, so on and so forth. Everybody the mother is taking care of the child, or whatever, something of the. There are thousands of people, and each one is busy doing his own job. So also in this body too, the pranas are doing their own job, the eyes are doing their own job, the kidneys are doing their own job, the liver does its own job, the lungs are busy doing their own job, the physical organ called as the heart is pumping the blood, throbbing, and is doing its own job. Is not it? Every cell of the body is doing their own job, and everyone is busy. This is what is city. So this is a city. This is a Puri. And who is the Swami? Who is the master, the king for whom all of them are working? Apparently, each one of them are working for themselves. But truly speaking, all of them are functioning only for this one master who is available, upalabdha, in this body. Who? I. And therefore, even when the eyes open and illumine colors and forms, for whom? Even when the eyes close and stop illumining colors and forms, for whom? You know, when you see something very beautiful, at that very moment, your eyes will even close. Like when you go to the Hindus, we go to the temple, and then you have walked whatever 5-10 kilometers up to that mountain top only to reach the temple, and then you can hardly stand over there even for 1.5 or 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And even over there, when the moment you reach where you have to stand, the eyes are closed. Okay. Now, you did. For whom are these eyes even closing or opening? You will also see that, when you are eating something or looking at something that is very beautiful, then the moment your eyes have seen, then, it is beautiful. The eyes close. For whom do these eyes open, the eyes close? For whom does the heart beat, and for whom does every organ function? Who is the master of all? This is that Atma. And the one who is available, for whom this body functions, the city functions, is Purushaha. So there are two reasons why this Atma is called as Purusha. One is Purnatvat Purushaha, Purishayanatva Purushaha. So he says, Purushaha Purnatvena Purishayanam. Samadukha Sukham, Same Sukha Dukhe, Anatma Dharmataya, Bhasyataya Cha, Yasya Jyotishaha. Samadukha Sukha. The one who, for whom the pleasure and pain are have the same status, are equal. Now, there is a little what do they call, a little thing to be marked over here. When it is said, the one for whom sukha and dukkha is one, or equal, he just do not think that one has to now develop that balance. It is already there, just become aware of it. Because samaduk sukha dukkhe anatma dharmataya, because in recognizing that this is anatma dharma, it is the property of anatma, then what will happen? Both of them, sukha and dukkha, are the property of anatma, of the antakaranam. Okay. Then, as by the virtue that they are the properties of anatma, by that property, by that virtue itself, they are equal. Anatma dharmataya same kritva. They are sama. Bhasyataya cha. And therefore, both of them are illumined. As much as this sukham is illumined, dukkham is also illumined. As much as sukham comes and goes, dukkham also comes and goes. And bhasyataya cha. Yasya jyotishaha. They are bhasya. They are something to be, they are illumined. And they will always remain as the objects to whom? To this ever shining light, Jyotishaha. Sukha dukkha grahanam asheshantakarana parinamopalakshanartham. Now, by saying sukha and dukkha, we are taking the entire everything that can be conveyed by antakaranam. Okay, by that as antakaranam. Shrutya atmanaha sukha dukkha pratishedhat. And why are you casting it in the category of anatma by showing it as the qualities or properties of antakaranam? Because not only through our discrimination we are able to see, but because Shruti also says that is sukha, dukkha, etc. belong to anatma, does not belong to atma. It does not belong to atma. Dhiram, dhiyam irayati prerayati iti vyutpatya chidabhasadvara dhitaratmya adhyasena dhi prerakam dhi sakshinam ityarthaha. Dhiram. Generally, we have used this word dhiram to mean the wise person. But Madhusudan Saraswati says that this word dhiram just does not stop by giving us the meaning a wise person, an intelligent, discriminative person. But the word can drive us further. The word can drive us further. It can get exhausted. At what point? When it has given whatever it has to give completely. And what does this word dhiram finally give? It means sakshi, the witness of mind. Okay, dhiram. Amritatvaya kalpate, is capable of attaining amritatvam, moksha, liberation. Okay, let us see this. How does this word dhiram takes you to the meaning dhi prerakam, dhi sakshinam ityarthaha. And we will see this more in our next class. And the most important one shloka of Bhagavad, most in the sense, this is what I am saying, every shloka is important, but a shloka that has been awaited is now going to arrive. Nasato vidyate bhavaha nabhavo vidyate sataha is what will is on is verse number 16. Okay, we will try to approach this shloka in our next meeting. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaha Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakrito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Thank you all.